Today kicks off our special gift exchange series. All week we'll be looking at different ways to give, from charitable donations to financial gifts. But first, getting gifts can be especially exciting for kids. It can be easy for them, and for adults too for that matter, to get their hopes a little too high. Today we'll look at ways to manage kids' expectations around the holidays. For some strategies, Kerry Taylor is here. She's a financial writer for Squawk Fox. Now first, note of credibility. You and I both have kids and they're about the same age. So we're in it. We're in it to win it.
Yes.
Your first tip is make a list. Make a wish list.
Absolutely, a wish list. And when I say wish list, I don't mean like tie it to a holiday. It doesn't have to be a holiday list or a Santa list. It really is a bucket list. So that when your kid gets the gimmies and you're in like a grocery store or the mall, you say, you know, they want it, you say just add it to the list. So it's a really easy way to get them to quantify the things that they want. And don't be afraid to add some non-material items in there too. You know, like stuff like tobogganing or going to the park. When it comes right down to it, our kids want to play with us and they want to spend time.
Right.
So I find that those are some of those valuable ones.
Do you practice browsing without buying in stores with your daughter?
No, not really. We hardly go into the stores.
You hardly go into the stores, so you avoid it altogether.
Yeah, I don't want to do it.
See, I've found I have to go into the stores. I'm hoping to build up her immunity.
No, it's not going to work.
So list number, so far it's working. Oh. It really is. It really is. But then you say, prioritize the list.
Yes, make them choose what they want most. Get them to pick number one. And it seems really hard. You see them struggling with it sometimes. But it's really an interesting exercise because you get to see what's important to your kid, and you get to see what value they put on that toy and what their play, what's in their mind to play with it with, and you get to see, you know, what other impulses are on them. You know, is there peer pressure at school, or maybe they've been fed some marketing. So it's a really good exercise to see what is actually important to them and what's less.
I also love that you're teaching the life skill from a very young age of trade-offs, because that's what so much of personal finance is. Most of us can't have everything. So do you want this more than that, or vice versa?
Well, no, exactly, because you can't have it all, and you have to go through the list.
Can have it all. Not even kids.
No, not even kids.
Suggest alternatives to more expensive brands. Now, this is interesting. I can see it working for our kids who are under 5, but for a 14-year-old, you got to be crazy. If you want the brand, you got to have the brand.
Well, maybe. I mean, the preteens and the teenagers, you know, maybe they want a gadget, a cell phone. You know, it's a really good exercise to sit down and say, well, what features of this particular item are important to you? And
I want what my friends have because it's cool.
You know what? And that's fair. If that's the brand your kid wants, then they need to know the cost of that, and they need to know that there were other choices on the market. And I think you're raising a child that can look at the broad picture and see that there's other options in the marketplace.
Abby was looking in a toy store and she said, I want an American Girl. And I said, but you don't play with dolls. And she kind of thought about it and then moved on to the slime kit, which is what she really wanted. But I think what you're pointing to is a way to have the children double check what it is that they really feel like they want, instead of all the other influences that might be out there.
Right, and you'll find that priority list will change. You know, one day it might have an American Girl on it, the other day it might have a hockey stick. So it really depends. It's a living list that they can take with them throughout the year as they age and change.
Number 4, set limits. What do you mean by set limits?
Limits, so we run out of money, right? You can't have it all. So I have a little saying that we say in the house, it's you get something you want, you need, you wear, and you read. So my daughter knows that she gets something on her want list. Perfect. You know, something she needs. Perhaps it's an outfit for gymnastics class.
Right.
You know, wear, well, you know, you got to have clothes, or you got to keep up with their lengthening limbs. And read, I'm a big fan of books. You know, I love reading books with my daughter before bed, and she loves books too. So she gets books.
Abby would say that none of those other things, other than the wants, qualify as items on a wish list. We should just have all those things. They're not fun. She'd say they're boring. Well,
the thing is, you're setting the expectation that that's the one thing she's going to get on that want list, right? And once you hit that, you know, that four pack, you're done. I mean, you can't control what other people give your kids, but you can set the expectation of what you're going to give them.
That's great. And you also are, no surprise, a huge advocate of talking about money.
Yeah, I love talking about money.
Yeah, of course we do.
I know. I've never had a problem. I'm in the grocery store with my 3-year-old on my side. We talk about the price of food. We talk about paying for things. She gets an allowance. She gets an allowance for every year that she's kept me awake at night. So she gets $3 a week. And we don't tie it to chores. So the idea is to put money in her her hands.
Yeah. Why did you decide to do that so early? Because most people don't start until later, 5 or above, but you started at 3.
Yeah, well, more time to save, right? I mean, you got to start them young. But, you know, I was noticing that she likes stuffed animals, and she would go into a store and get the gimmies. And it's like, you know what? You've got your own money. So we decided that she would spend her own money, and she would see that once the money ran out, no more toys. So it was a really hard lesson for her to learn.
Now,
so she had to choose.
You, with Squawk Fox, you have written on topics of frugality for a long time.
Yeah.
It is very clearly a core value. How do you link back an individual family's values to what it is that they do to set expectations with their kid? Because not everybody thinks and behaves in the way that you and I do.
No, for sure. And I mean, you have to start somewhere. And you can start with really simply just talking to your kids about what things cost. You can just simply go into stores and say no. I mean, there's nothing wrong with setting the expectation and saying, you know what, we can't have everything. And a little bit of disappointment is fine. You know, like we're, as parents, we want to give our kids everything, but we can't, you know. We're disappointed when we can't have everything.
Yeah. Do you really want to give her everything? Because I don't believe you do. Here's why I don't think you do. Because you, like me, want to raise an adult, a responsible adult. And if we give them everything, at what point do they learn about scarcity? They don't.
Well, for sure. But when they're in the store and they get the gimmies and everyone's watching you to see what you're going to do, like that's a parental pressure point, right?
Steely. I remain steely.
It's really hard. And it can happen in like the sugar cereal aisle of the grocery store, right? I want that cereal. And you see the meltdowns in aisle 7. So it happens everywhere, and you know, so you just have to say no.
One last comment here, focus on building memories.
You know, I look back, Bruce, to like all the Christmases and birthdays I've had, and I barely remember any of the stuff I've been given. You know, we equate, you know, Christmas with collecting stuff and piling on things, you know, but when I think back, I think about hanging out with my family. My daughter thinks about, you know, going to British Columbia to see her cousins. You know, these are the kind of memories that really last, and these are the things that really transcend the time a child plays with an American Doll toy or Minecraft or a new cell phone. So really, you know, bring it back and show the kids that, you know, it's not all about material things, and talk about on their wish list, you know, the fun things that you want to do as a group. Maybe you want to go to a movie, maybe, you know, you're going to go to the art gallery. There's a lot of different things families can do. So,
and those things have a $sign attached to them as well, so that you need to think about it holistically.
Yeah, but tobogganing?
Tobogganing is free, provided you don't have to take a cab to the emergency room
Hopefully
afterwards.
we'll get some snow.
Kerry Taylor, thank you very much.